From the very earliest days of flying, the county of Berkshire has had a long and enduring connection with aviation. And here, at the Museum of Berkshire Aviation at Woodley, built near the perimeter of the old Woodley Aerodrome, we take a look back over the last 70 years or so. Although the first recorded flight at Woodley was in 1913, the earliest site used regularly for flying was at Coley in Reading, which was used for training wartime pilots for the 1914 war. The build-up of the Royal Air Force in the 1930s saw the establishment of many airfields in Berkshire.
This resembled the typical airfields around 1918. Some had grass runways, while others were paved, and most had a full set of hangars. Within the old boundaries of Berkshire, around 20 airfields were located at sites such as Winkfield, Bray, White Waltham, Cockpole Green, Woodley, Reading, Thiel, Hampstead Norreys, Harwell, Abingdon, Kingston Bagpuys, Shellingford, Watchfield, Membury, Great Shefford, Wilford Grove, Greenham Common, Aldermaston, and even Smith's Lawn at Windsor, which was used during the Great War. By the year 2000, only one airfield, White Waltham, remained, as the others had been overtaken by residential developments and industrial zones.
Okay.
White Waltham, valued by the RAF during the War of 1939, returned to civilian use in 1945. It later housed ML Aviation, known for specialized aircraft equipment, and Fairy Aviation between 1955 and 1965, where aircraft such as Fairy Gannet were produced. A notable example of the Gannet can be seen at the Museum of Berkshire Aviation, displayed just outside the main hangar.
The Gannet was designed to a naval specification, especially for operation from aircraft carriers. I was privileged to fly this aircraft as a pilot in the Fleet Air Arm. It was a delightful aircraft to fly and quite unique in the Navy, in that it had two turboprop engines driving two four-bladed props on a single axis, which obviated the usual asymmetric problems associated with twin engines. It was designed to cruise on one engine, which meant that it was very economical, giving it great range. The aircraft shown here was from 825 Naval Squadron at Culdrose, and I was in fact flying number 342 on that day.
The story of Miles' aircraft began in 1925 at Shoreham, Sussex, when 21-year-old F.G. Miles, along with his younger brother George, began building a biplane based partly on F.G. Miles's design, within part of their family's Star Laundry business premises. However, the aircraft was never completed, as Miles met Cecil Pashley, a skilled aviator, before its finish. The two quickly bonded and were inspired to form a partnership and create a flying school that also offered joyrides in Pashley's Avro 504K on fields known as Eastern's Farm. The Avro 504K, a two-seat World War I trainer with a rotary Gnome engine, was renowned as one of the finest trainers ever made, with over 8,000 units produced. Realizing the risk of operating with only one plane, and despite limited funds, they managed to buy enough spare parts to assemble another 504K after Avro shut down their factory at Hamble. In the photograph, Pashley's plane is on the right, while the partially finished biplane is seen inside the canvas hangar. By 1926, the business was divided, with the newly formed Southern Aircraft Company run by Miles, while Pashley continued operating the flying school. In 1929, Miles designed and constructed his first entirely new aircraft, known as the Southern Martlet, at the new hangar. That same year, Miles piloted its maiden flight, which proved to be an immediate success. A total of 6 Martlets were eventually produced for special client orders. This particular Martlet, featuring a Gannet engine, was built in 1930 and is shown here being flown by F.G. Miles in 1947. One of these aircraft was sold to Maxine Freeman Thomas, the wife of a Southern aircraft director. When Miles and Maxine developed a romantic relationship, Miles found the situation uncomfortable and chose to leave Southern Aircraft, heading to South Africa. He later returned, and after Maxine's divorce, the two married and established a small office in Sevenoaks. Under Miles's guidance, she became an accomplished aircraft designer, and together they developed a small aircraft called the Satyr. Around the same time, in the late 1920s, the company Phillips and Powys operated a car and cycle business in Reading. Charles Powys developed a strong interest in aviation and in 1929 purchased a large field in Woodley, outfitting it with a hangar, workshop, and restaurant while also establishing a flying school. This venture would remain significant for years and continue expanding. It played a crucial role in training numerous RAF pilots, ultimately becoming known as Reading Aerodrome. In 1931, during a cross-country flight in the Satyr, Miles, for reasons unknown, landed at Woodley. When he met Charles Powys, Miles eagerly shared his groundbreaking ideas for future designs, many of which he would achieve during his career.
The Miles aircraft concern conceived the M.39 Libellula during the early 1940s, amid the turmoil of World War II. Initially, the concept aimed to simplify landing aircraft on carrier decks, addressing visibility challenges caused by forward-mounted engines and large wing mainplanes. A novel tandem wing arrangement was pursued to mitigate risks, resulting in a series of concepts explored by Miles during the war. The overarching term for these Miles designs was Libellula, named after the taxonomic family of the dragonfly. The groundwork for this project began with the M.35, essentially a technology demonstrator for a single-seat naval fighter. Miles pursued this endeavour independently, using the tandem wing setup to reconfigure the centre of gravity found in conventionally configured military aircraft. In a brief span of 6 weeks, Miles engineers introduced the M.35. This aircraft was equipped with a single de Havilland Gypsy Major air-cooled inline engine, boasting 130 horsepower. During testing, the engine exhibited temperamental behaviour and longitudinal control was problematic. Nevertheless, this design provided valuable insights into the unconventional arrangement, contributing to future developments in the field. Building on this knowledge, a new design emerged, scaled at 5/8 and designated as M.39B. This single-seat demonstrator featured a pair of de Havilland Gypsy Major IC air-cooled inline engines, each with 130 horsepower, showcased in outboard nacelles beneath the rear wing mainplanes. The frontal mainplane was now positioned low against the sides of the cockpit, and the fuselage boasted a finely contoured shape from nose to tail. The undercarriage transitioned to a traditional tricycle configuration. Given the larger scope of the M.39B project, its dimensions were appropriately increased. The wingspans now measured 25 feet at the front set and 37.5 feet at the rear. The overall length extended to 22.3 feet, and the maximum weight rose to 3,200 pounds. As constructed and tested, the M.39B achieved speeds of up to 166 miles per hour thanks to its twin-engine setup and tandem wing approach. The maiden flight for the M.39B occurred on July 22, 1943. A dorsal fin was later fitted at the fuselage aft for additional control to complete the M39B's iconic three-finned appearance. Up until September of 1943, all of the work on the two aircraft, M.35 and M.39B, was as a private venture. From then on, the British Air Ministry decided to offer a formal development contract to Miles. Shortly after, Miles sought interest from the United States Army Air Forces, aware of their consideration of the domestic Curtiss XP-55 Ascender, which shared a tandem-wing pusher engine configuration and was intended as a fighter. The USAF's response revealed a general lack of interest in the Miles product, as the XP-55 itself faced issues, particularly with stalls and recovery. The American program only progressed to flight testing, producing 3 aircraft in total. The M39B underwent evaluation at the Royal Aircraft Establishment, encountering problems from the outset. A new undercarriage had to be installed, and several accidents necessitated constant repairs, keeping the aircraft grounded for extended periods. Despite its unconventional arrangement, overall handling characteristics were considered normal. While landing and takeoff required adjustments to the standard routine, these were deemed forgivable, and stalling and recovery performed as anticipated. In 1941, the RAF issued a new specification for a medium-class, medium to high-altitude, high-performance bomber. Miles responded with its M39 project, a modified version of the M39B featuring a pressurized cockpit for a crew of 3. The proposed power for the M39 project included either 2 Rolls-Royce Merlin 61 series inline engines or 3 Powerjets W2500 gas-powered turbine engines. This design featured a significant wingspan increase, measuring 37.5 feet at the frontal wing and 55.8 feet at the rear pairing. The overall length expanded to 35.9 feet, and the maximum weight surged to 26,750 pounds. The envisioned cruising speed was 360 miles per hour, and armament was planned to include 2 20mm cannons in the wing roots, 1 gun per root, along with an internal bomb bay in the fuselage, capable of carrying up to 6,000 pounds of bombs. Ultimately, the de Havilland DH-99 Vampire fulfilled the specified requirements. The Hawker P1005 also competed for a period. Although a prototype M39 high-speed bomber was ordered under a November 1943 contract, it was never constructed. The RAF's bomber needs were met elsewhere, leading to the termination of the M39 project, along with the data-collecting M39B aircraft. While surviving the war, the M39B lasted only until 1948, when it was scrapped. Despite its shortcomings, the Miles Libellula left an indelible mark on aviation history. Its bold, unconventional design inspired future aircraft engineers to think outside the box and take risks. The Libellula remains a testament to the power of human ingenuity and the boundless potential of innovation. The Miles M39B Libellula serves as a fascinating case study of a daring, experimental aircraft that ultimately fell short of expectations. Its unique design, ambitious goals, and ultimate cancellation offer valuable lessons for future aviation endeavours.
An agreement was eventually formed. F.G. Miles and Blossom would focus on designing and building prototype aircraft, while Phillips and Powys would manage production, sales, and distribution. Began their work at Woodley as a team, one of the most innovative and dynamic aircraft companies was founded. Their first project was a low-wing monoplane with 2 seats and folding wings, named the Hawk, which significantly influenced future aircraft designs. It proved easy to construct and performed excellently in flight. News spread quickly, and within the first week, 53 pilots of varying skill levels had flown the prototype. Miles and Blossom's forward-thinking approach also extended to their home, which was futuristic in style, specially designed for them by Guy Morgan, and completed in 1934. This marked a clear departure from the traditional homes of that era. In 1937, Miles and Blossom introduced the renowned Magister, a low-wing monoplane derived from the Hawk Major design. It was groundbreaking as the first low-wing monoplane to be adopted by the RAF for training purposes, with production exceeding 1,000 units and international sales boosting its recognition. To meet these needs, Phillips and Powys transitioned into a public company, with Miles appointed as the technical director. This move attracted financial support from Rolls-Royce, facilitating the replacement of their aging factory. In a pivotal moment captured in history, Miles is shown speaking at the microphone alongside Sir Kingsley Wood and then Minister for Air during the inauguration of their new factory. Amidst this period of rapid development, Miles designed the Kestrel to cater to the RAF's need for a faster trainer aircraft, which eventually evolved into the Miles Magister. Anticipating the likelihood of war, Miles aimed to ensure the RAF was equipped with a suitable training aircraft to prepare pilots for flying mainline fighters like the Hurricanes and Spitfires. His foresight was validated when the Air Ministry placed an order worth £2 million for the Magister in 1938. By September 1940, the efficient production line had delivered 500 Magisters, playing a vital role in preparing the RAF for the conflicts that lay ahead. As production scaled up, a shortage of skilled personnel became apparent. In response, Blossom Miles spearheaded the establishment of a dedicated training school aimed at educating young people to become highly qualified aircraft technicians. The curriculum emphasized aerodynamics, structural analysis, and advanced design techniques. The school's success is underscored by its legacy, with many graduates going on to hold top positions within British aerospace firms and even Boeing. To keep the workforce informed and engaged, the photographic section produced Miles Movie News, a feature showcasing updates such as the acquisition of a new 5,000-ton press. Blossom's leadership extended beyond technical training. She championed the well-being of her employees, particularly women in sedentary roles, by organizing exercise classes to promote health and fitness. The company also boasted a vibrant cultural life, including an amateur dramatics and operatic section that performed at the Works, local venues, and even the Reading Town Hall. The BBC broadcasted Workers' Playtime and Works Wonders programs live from the site on 7 occasions. Recreational activities ranged from boxing tournaments and a cycling club to concert parties and performances by the Miles Silver Band. Air shows at Woodley became popular community events, showcasing a variety of aircraft and attracting significant attention. Pictured in one of these shows were Blossom, F.G. Miles, and their son Jeremy. A pivotal moment came in 1943 when the director of scientific research approached Miles about developing a supersonic aircraft. Embracing the challenge, Miles began work on the groundbreaking M.52, a project that required rigorous testing with existing aircraft as platforms for researching ultra-thin wing sections, critical for supersonic flight. Wind tunnel testing was extensively employed to refine new tail section designs, ensuring the M.52 project's aerodynamic integrity. Full-size mock-ups incorporated pioneering safety features, most notably a detachable cockpit that could be jettisoned in emergencies, allowing the pilot to safely parachute to the ground. This early approach was a precursor to the modern ejector seat, demonstrating Miles's ahead-of-its-time ingenuity nearly 6 decades before such technology became mainstream. Despite promising advances, including substantial progress toward prototype construction, the ministry abruptly cancelled the project without prior notice or a given reason. The end of the war brought further difficulties. Miles' aircraft was left with large, expanded production facilities intended for wartime demands, but peacetime meant the sudden cancellation of many government contracts, leaving these resources underutilized. Initially, post-war operations were marked by vibrant activity. The company introduced several new aircraft, including the Gemini and the Messenger. Though these yielded only modest sales, the Aerovan freighter, however, managed greater commercial success.
Miles Aircraft Limited herald their immediate post-war contribution to commercial aviation, the Aerovan. The Aerovan is readily convertible from a passenger transport to light freighter. When this aeroplane was projected, a compromise was made between obtaining...
A promotional film by Miles showcased the Aerovan's capabilities, highlighting its adaptability for various cargo, including the concentrated weight distribution seen in transporting a car by its four-wheel points. This versatility resonated well with post-war transport companies, many of which were run by ex-RAF pilots who sought robust and reliable aircraft for their new ventures. Seats could be installed in the Aerovan to convert it into a passenger transport, showcasing its versatile design. A notable conversion in 1946 enabled the transport of horses into Woodley Aerodrome, underlining the aircraft's adaptable nature.
Conceived during the latter part of World War II, the Miles M.57 Aerovan aimed to serve as an economical aircraft for transporting passengers and cargo over short distances, capable of landing and taking off from rugged airstrips. Development of the Aerovan began in early 1944 with the vision of creating a cost-effective, low-powered freighter suitable for both civilian and military applications. George Miles, throughout the Second World War, championed the adoption of such an aircraft in the British military, challenging the prevailing reliance on gliders. After completing the development of the Miles Messenger, Miles's design team recognized the potential of a more powerful and heavier aircraft, approximately double in capacity. This envisioned aircraft could serve as a robust military transport, particularly for operations like the Burma campaign against Imperial Japan and specialized roles such as air ambulance missions. Anticipating post-war demand from civilian operators, Miles foresaw the Aerovan's popularity in the civilian market. However, the War Ministry held a different perspective, delaying the project until the conclusion of hostilities and the Victory in Europe Day celebrations on May 8, 1945. The prototype aircraft was built at the Miles factory in Berkshire, debuting on January 26, 1945. The plane featured a high wing design, a high tail, and large rear clamshell doors. Miles decided that a pair of Blackburn Cirrus major piston engines would power the British-built plane. After its maiden flight, test pilot Tommy Rose gave it rave reviews for its performance. The aircraft was also capable of lifting heavy payloads, something Miles thought the Air Ministry would like. Constructed from plastic-bonded plywood with elements of spruce and metal, the Miles Aerovan was a twin-engined high-wing monoplane. Its design featured a fixed tricycle undercarriage and 3 vertical tail and rudder units, resembling the Miles Messenger in its overall configuration. The wing boasted electrically actuated flaps, a recent innovation allowing adjustment to any angle. Ground steering options included both differential braking and differential operation of the throttles. The Aerovan's forward fuselage had a relatively deep-sided structure, requiring a substantial fin area. The cockpit, situated beneath a large clear perspex canopy, accommodated 2 pilots, while circular windows on either side of the pod-shaped fuselage provided views for passengers. Access to the cabin and cockpit was granted through a starboard side door, with additional amenities like soundproofing often included for enhanced comfort. Known for its lifting prowess, the Aerovan could carry payloads of up to 1 ton, with enough space to accommodate a typical family car, loaded through rear-set clamshell doors. The standard Aerovan was powered by a pair of Blackburn Cirrus major piston engines. Alternative power plants included the de Havilland Gypsy Major and the Lycoming 0435, often necessitating the use of enlarged fins and rudders to cope with the increased power under all circumstances. By swapping the engines, the maximum speed could be increased by up to 20 miles per hour and the rate of climb by up to 50%. Work on the Aerovan was resumed shortly after Victory in Europe Day. While there was immediate demand for the type amongst civilian customers, Miles were not able to keep up with the rate of orders incoming, an outcome which aviation author Don Brown attributed to the Air Ministry's decision to place the project on hold. Diverging from the prototype, the production model of the Aerovan underwent notable changes, including an 18-inch elongation of the fuselage and the adoption of porthole windows in place of rectangular ones. In 1946, full-scale production of the Aerovan commenced, with the majority sold to civilian operators globally. While predominantly a civilian aircraft, some military interest emerged, with Israel and New Zealand among the notable customers. Despite having a license for Aerovan production in France, no such aircraft were ever manufactured in the country. In New Zealand, a single Royal New Zealand Air Force aircraft was adapted for aerial fertilizer spreading, and another for aeromagnetic survey work, though the latter proved unsuccessful. In 1957, a Mark IV model underwent research, with the Hurrell Du Bois high aspect ratio wing becoming known as the Miles HDM 105. Production abruptly halted in late 1947 due to Miles's bankruptcy and subsequent dissolution.
Beyond aviation, Miles ventured into innovative products like Miles Copycat, an office copying machine that became a significant success for reproducing drawings and documents. Launched in the late 1940s, it garnered approximately £500 in revenue with its first 18 months of release. Additionally, F.G. Miles secured the rights to manufacture the Bayero ballpoint pen. Although substantial development was necessary to refine the product, it led to an impressive £3.5 million in orders. Amid these ventures, the M60 Marathon project marked a significant shift toward all-metal aircraft construction, symbolizing Miles Aircraft's ambition to modernize. However, financial difficulties loomed over the company. The need to fund new prototype development and the burden of post-war profits tax posed severe challenges. Plans to secure additional funding were thwarted by the harsh winter of 1947, which brought catastrophic consequences. Fuel and component shortages led to reduced working hours, while freezing temperatures prevented the glue on wooden airframes from setting properly, resulting in damaged materials. In November 1947, company auditor Samuel Hogg's grim report led to a withdrawal of bank support and the calling in of loans. The financial blow prompted the appointment of a receiver and shortly thereafter the departure of the Miles brothers. The cessation of all aircraft production at the Woodley factory marked the end of an era for a company that once employed 7,000 people and had been a beacon of British aviation innovation. Following the financial collapse of Miles Aircraft, Handley Page acquired the aircraft manufacturing segment of the company, continuing the development of the Marathon. Under the direction of Edwin Gray, Handley Page's chief designer, the Marathon's designs were updated to incorporate the latest production techniques used at their Cricklewood works. With pressure from Sir Frederick Handley Page, a new aircraft, the Herald, was introduced to service by British European Airways on its Scottish Highland routes. As a result, the initial order for 25 Heralds was cancelled. The Herald was a direct evolution of the Marathon design, and although it was equipped with 2 Rolls-Royce Dart engines, it quickly became apparent that it could not compete with the economy and versatility of the DH-89 Rapide, which had been previously used on the same route. However, Handley Page proceeded to produce around 45 Heralds, and by 1968, 44 were still in operation worldwide. A rare film documents one of the Heralds on a promotional flight to South America, led by Prince Philip, who piloted the aircraft for 99 hours of the 127-hour journey. After this journey, the aircraft was chartered to King Hussein of Jordan for his honeymoon trip to Morocco. This particular Herald has since been fully restored and is now on display at the Museum of Berkshire Aviation, preserving its legacy as part of aviation history. The Museum of Berkshire Aviation was established with a generous £60,000 grant from Workingham District Council under the guidance of Major Douglas Goddard. In April 1991, the keys to the museum were officially handed over by the Mayor of Workingham to Jean Fosdicu. Shortly after the handover, several exhibits began arriving, one of which was the Dart Herald. Upon its arrival, the aircraft was in a sad state, stripped of its instruments, fittings, and seats, with even the floor missing. It was clear that a significant amount of work would be needed to restore it to any semblance of its original condition. Dedicated volunteers took on this challenge, working tirelessly to return the aircraft to its former glory. In 1993, after the installation of several exhibits, the museum officially opened its doors to the public. The grand opening included speeches from Major Goddard and John Henderson, the Lord Lieutenant, as well as a flypast featuring World War II and Miles aircraft.
We have representatives from every aspect of Berkshire County, and also nationally we are represented by MPs, mainly local MPs, by most of the civic heads from the county, by representatives of industry and commerce who have supported us so well in the past, of aviation, of education, and of the museum service. Welcome to you all. It is a particular pleasure that I welcome Lady Joan Barder, the widow of Douglas Barder of legendary fame, whose name is perpetuated in Barder Way here, and who was very closely connected with Woodley. So I have great pleasure in asking the Lord Lieutenant to unveil a plaque and pay the first subscription.
on aircraft like the Magister, easy to train it. Inside by
These photographs, taken on opening day, capture the large crowd that attended and offer a glimpse of the museum's interior at the time.
The museum has come a long way since those early days, and now, some 7 years later, it is constituted as a registered charity, and a dedicated band of volunteers give many hours of their leisure time to building up and maintaining the collection. So let's have a look at some of today's exhibits.
One of the standout exhibits is the Fairy Jet Gyrodyne helicopter, which first flew at White Waltham in 1954. It is the museum's second largest display. However, for the largest exhibit, visitors must step outside the hangar to see the Dart Herald. This particular aircraft was the first production model of the Dart Herald and made its maiden flight in 1958. Rescued from Southend Airport, it was initially received in a near-complete state of disrepair, with all its fittings, instruments, and seating removed. Replacement components for the Dart Herald were sourced from various places, including second-hand aircraft that were no longer airworthy. Today, this aircraft serves as an intriguing part of the Museum of Berkshire Aviation's collection. The museum also showcases other significant exhibits, such as the double Mamba engine manufactured by Armstrong Siddeley, which was used in the Fairy Gannet, displayed just outside the museum's entrance.
In addition to the main museum exhibits, there is also a major collection of ML Aviation products, which have been collected together over the years.
ML Aviation was also responsible for manufacturing a variety of instrument panels, electronic components, and hydraulic control equipment. One of the standout exhibits is the Sprite, a remotely controlled surveillance system. ML personnel demonstrate its function by showcasing how, after takeoff, the Sprite sends back aerial images to the control van, a true spy in the sky.
it's behind. Yep.
Although ML Aviation is no longer based at White Waltham, it played an essential role in Berkshire Aviation by producing various auxiliary equipment. One example is the inflatable shelter, and another is the company's production of tractors used for aircraft ground movement. The museum also holds significant items, like the remains of a student jet trainer that crashed at Duxford in 1985 due to an engine failure on takeoff. The aircraft, the only one of its kind, is now being restored in the museum workshops. These workshops, located in 2 quarter cabins at the museum, are where much of the restoration work takes place.
It broadcasts it, then I have to work like holidays, so take this kind of thing, walk into the cabin and
For instance, volunteer craftsmen constructed the main spar for the jet trainer from scratch. In 1996, the museum received the wreckage of the Martinet, which had crashed in Iceland in 1951. After being transported by truck from Reykjavik, restoration efforts began. Despite the lack of original drawings, the volunteers are using photographs and other resources to rebuild the aircraft. The engine of the Martinet, however, was too badly corroded to be restored. Though over 1,700 Martinets were built, none are preserved in complete form. As a result, the static display at the museum will be the only complete Martinet on public display. The museum is focused on expanding its exhibits and is actively raising funds to purchase an additional hangar. Visitors are encouraged to join the museum's crew member scheme, which offers benefits such as free access for 2 people and a newsletter allowing them to help support the museum's growth and preservation efforts.
Aviation, the art of aeronautics, began with the dreamers, inventors, and daredevils who dared to defy gravity. The journey of aviation was nurtured by pioneers like the Wright brothers, whose first flight marked a historic milestone. The role of aircrafts in world wars was groundbreaking, dramatically changing warfare strategies. This initiated a technological evolution in aviation, transforming the simplistic wings of a biplane into the thunderous roar of jet engines. Let's journey through the ages of aviation. Behind every great aircraft, there were great minds. These visionaries, like Sir Frank Whittle, the innovator of the turbojet engine, redefined air travel. Then there's Skunkworks Kelly Johnson, the genius behind the SR-71 Blackbird. His designs combined speed, stealth, and power, crafting machines that dominated the heavens. The contributions of these pioneers have left an indelible mark on the canvas of aviation, shaping the course of history and inspiring generations of engineers and aviators. Each epoch in aviation history gave birth to extraordinary aircrafts, each with their own unique features and roles. The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird was a marvel of speed and stealth. The F-105 Thunderchief, a supersonic fighter bomber, was vital in the Vietnam War. The P-51 Mustang, a long-range fighter, was critical in World War II. The P-47 Thunderbolt, a heavyweight fighter, was used extensively in the same war. The A-10 Thunderbolt II, the Warthog, is a close air support icon. The Messerschmitt Me-262 marked a leap forward in aviation technology. Each of these game changers were instrumental in their eras, and their legacies still resonate today. Beyond the game changers, there are those that have transcended their practical roles to become icons. The Concorde was not just an aircraft, it was a supersonic symbol of luxury and speed. The B-52 Stratofortress, a strategic bomber, is an icon of power and resilience. These magnificent machines and others like them have become much more than just aircrafts. They are enduring icons that encapsulate the audacious spirit, the relentless innovation, and the boundless ambition that define the world of aviation. For more amazing aerial footage, and to join us in this incredible journey, check out the DroneScapes YouTube channel.
If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.